How to keep yourself and others safe online. This how-to session is part of our digital training webinar series where we aim to help empower groups to explore the digital landscape and discover the best way to meet their needs. And as we know, going into another lockdown, digital skills are more important than ever. It's so important to keep people connected, but as well, if you're running a group, to keep that group accessible to people who maybe aren't so comfortable online or using tech. So today's session will be a 45-minute webinar and then a Q&A portion of around 15 minutes. It depends how well I do on timing. So what we'll be covering is the internet. I don't want the online safety to be intimidating. I don't want it to be scary. And none of this should scare you. The internet is a great tool and it's super safe. There's just certain precautions that you should be aware of and ways that you can protect yourself better. So the internet is an amazing tool with endless possibilities. However, an online presence can come with a few potential dangers that you need to be aware of in order to keep yourself and others safe, especially if you are, say, running an organization. You're going to want to protect everybody within your group or your reach. So today we're going to go through how to ensure you have security measures put in place when using the internet, including stuff such as social media, public Wi-Fi, email, messaging applications, and personal accounts. Which is all. It feels like there's a lot to talk about, but it's actually lots of it translates from each to each. I think what you need to focus on is protecting your accounts and protecting your information, that sort of thing. So, personal account security. Passwords are a large part of maintaining security on the internet. You should keep your password secure by using 3 random words mixed in with numbers and symbols. For example, I've just put one here and you can see within the password that there is 3 random words, number, there's uppercase and lowercase letters, and a unique symbol. This is going to make it a lot more difficult, one, for people to guess your password. One thing that I'd advise against is sharing lots of personal information or making your password something personal to you. I think it should be random and just try to maybe make it memorable by making it a bit weird or a bit different, but not birthdays and names and such, because if you, say, have a Facebook account and you're celebrating birthdays with your daughters, it's easier to decode what your password is likely to be, that type of thing. So try and keep it random and try and keep it a big mix of all the different numbers, symbols, letters. So the key to creating a password is not to use information that can be easily linked back to yourself, just as I stated, information that might be on the public domain or available to somebody that you don't know who can see your online presence and online persona. So the top tips for this would be passwords are a large part of maintaining the security. That's a repeat. So the top tips would be, don't use the same password on multiple accounts. I know the temptation is there. It's so much easier to remember just a few passwords for lots of things, but especially on stuff like banking and stuff with lots of personal information, your email. Try to keep every single one of those different, because say if someone got into your email, you don't want them to then be able to access maybe your online banking, that sort of thing. So even if you keep lower risk social profiles with the same password, try to mix up the big ones. Change any default passwords as quickly as possible. Often when you create an account, you will be given a password, and just go into your settings and change your password to something custom, because the ones where you've been given a password, obviously it's only meant to be temporary. They are more vulnerable as they can sort of be randomized, and there's like an algorithm to it. It's easier to figure out if a computer's made a password. Use a mix of letters, numbers, and symbols, as we showed in the example password. Keep it a mix. It's really, once you've gotten a few down, it's a good idea. Also, don't use car number plates if that sort of information is online, and definitely don't use a current car number plate, because otherwise I would say number plates are quite good because they're quite memorable, mix of letters and numbers, you can do uppercase, lowercase, but don't use cars that maybe you've posted a picture of, or definitely not your current car. Okay, so next we will move on to phishing, scams, and text messages. So phishing is a word that, like, phishing for information. As you can see, it's sort of like visualized what it is, but it's using scams and false messages to lure you to send your personal information sort of by your own free will. Like, you're not so much as being hacked as being manipulated. So there's telltale signs and there's things to look for. So it's not something to worry too much about. But be careful with any unexpected emails or text messages, even if the sender is known to you or looks like a previous message chain. Phishing emails are intended to look like they're from a legitimate source, to trick the reader into parting with sensitive data or messages that may contain malware. So they're trying to impersonate a company, popular companies. There's an example just below which I'll show, but they might email you looking like your bank. Say if you bank with Santander, they might email you saying, update your details or do this and that, and it's not the legitimate Santander. So first thing to do if you're slightly suspicious is look at the email address and go on to the actual company's website to see if that they have a contact us sort of email, see if it's the same sort of thing. You can also see if you've received emails from your bank before, check the emails, see if they're similar or different, but more importantly, if you're suspicious in any way, you're not sure, just be cautious and go to the website of the company that you think it is, the legitimate website online, type it in and contact them directly there. That way, they will be able to tell you themselves if they sent it or if they didn't, and help you sort out reducing the spam in your inbox. And you can also mark the email as spam, and it means that you're not going to see it again. But something really unfortunate that I saw recently is, because this happens on text as well, don't click links and stuff on text from people that you don't know, but there was a scam including the current corona, gosh, what are they called? The injections for the corona appointments, and they were asking you to book in your appointment via text. The government wouldn't do that. There's sort of verification, and even if you're not sure, go to the direct website. It's better to be safe than sorry all the time. So phishing scams include fake emails, fake free offers, clickbait, things that make you want to click on it, like you won this, online quizzes, and more. These tactics are to entice you to click on harmful links or hand over your personal information. So this is an example. This was, say, like a subscription example, maybe like Netflix or iTunes or whatever sort of platforms that you might subscribe to. It had the Netflix logo because it's easy to copy and paste that into an email, and it says, please update your payment details, and you update now, you click that button. It is not something that Netflix would do to email you through to click on updating your information. You would go to the app and do it through the app or do it on the website. You're not going to do it through your email. So just be cautious of what it looks like. And even maybe if you're not sure, you could Google Netflix email scam, because I found this one online very easily. And if it looks the exact same, then it's likely to be a scam, and it's likely to be something that you're going to want to double check and then call Netflix about. So tricking users is unfortunately how scams are carried out, by using an alias to gain trust and then taking advantage. Make sure that you are cautious of suspicious emails and messages. Genuine companies will not ask you to divulge sensitive information via email, text, or over the phone. If in doubt, search the organization's contact telephone number and call them directly to inquire about the email or text you have received. And on top of this, big companies are used to scams and that sort of thing. They'll be able to help you deal with the scam. Never respond directly to messages asking for your personal or financial details. Do not click on links or attachments. Contact the apparent sender directly via a trusted source. If the message is from your bank, contact them using the phone number on the back of your card. This is a really great way because even sometimes in these phishing or scam emails, they'll put a contact phone number, but it's not going to be the legitimate source, because why would they put the legitimate company's number on the email? So make sure, especially if it's a bank, just look at the number on your card, or I'm sure you can Google it and I'm sure you can get through to the UK help centre for whichever bank it is. And if phishing emails are becoming a major issue, you can consider creating a new email account. If it's becoming massive, it means that your email must be doing the rounds or getting out onto a database somehow. Honestly, you can find emails and emails and emails online, which is how people are managing to send out mass emails, mass spam. They've not found you personally. They're just going through sort of like a database of millions and millions of emails. But maybe if your email is on all of these lists and on all of these people's radar, a new email account wouldn't do any harm. Otherwise, you can mark it as spam and you won't get the messages again from that specific sender. So Wi-Fi. This one seems a bit scary. It's not to scare you. It's just about knowing if you are vulnerable on certain Wi-Fi networks. So there's a difference between the security of Wi-Fi in your home and Wi-Fi in the public domain. You cannot be certain that public Wi-Fi networks are secure. For example, places like cafes or hotels are all public Wi-Fi and not as secure as your home Wi-Fi, obviously, because you only have the password to that, and therefore are vulnerable to interception. Never use them to do anything confidential, like making a payment or checking your emails. This is something that you should try and refrain from doing. You just do this when you're at home or on mobile data, because again, that's data roaming. It's not going to be attached to public domain Wi-Fi. So criminals could intercept these transactions, steal your information and access files on your computer, or infect your device with malware. Where possible, use your mobile network internet, which will have built-in security, or do things that aren't such high risk. So I was always, pre-corona times, a fan of working in cafes. I just know to close my email before I go. I'm not going to open online banking because that's just not the best idea if you are on a less stable Wi-Fi network, and just keep it to doing your work or just doing what you need to do. But if you're on mobile data, it's perfectly fine to check your emails and look at your online banking. So yeah, that one, I didn't want to worry people with Wi-Fi, but I think it's important to know that you are slightly more vulnerable, just slightly more. So antivirus is like a preventative measure. So lots of these are reactions, but this is something you can do to protect yourself first. So antivirus should be downloaded on your devices. All devices should have antivirus software regardless of what machine you're using. Ensure it's stored and regularly updated and running on the computers or devices that you're using. The antivirus that I recommend is Malwarebytes Anti-Malware. So it's a free program that scans your computer for potential threats and alerts you to them. To further learn about antivirus software, you can go to the government advice on this sort of thing. If it's not clear, antivirus scans your computer for potential threats, potential errors, because sometimes we just go on websites that are more prone to, not more prone, but may have minor viruses and stuff like that. And it's normal to get a computer virus. It's quite difficult to avoid it. Having this sort of protection is going to catch it and help you get rid of it. And also, if you have lots of viruses or little things on your laptop building up, it slows down the performance of your laptop by miles. It really has a toll. So having antivirus software is going to keep your computer running faster, more efficient, as well as being protected. So make sure that you back up any important data to stop loss of files. If your device breaks, gets lost or stolen, or is infected by malware, so that's just to make sure that you have all your files. So make sure that you're backing up what's on your computer so that it doesn't hurt as much if it were to be infected or lost or broken. This can be a physical backup, like on a USB stick, or I use a hard drive, which you can plug in by USB, or on the cloud, so digitally, so that then you could download, so something like Dropbox or Google Drive if you have enough storage, or yeah, there's many places that you can upload your work. I use Adobe Creative Cloud, so that's another option. So digital or physical. Before disposing of any device, ensure you have performed a factory reset to wipe all your personal information. So obviously, as I'm sure you know, tech machines store all the information that's going on just to help us with our preferences. A factory reset will take it back to its original brand new settings. You know, you open the box and you have to fill in all the information. That's what you want to do. You want to wipe the complete history of information your device might have, especially say if you were like selling your laptop to a friend or something like that. Not that your friend's gonna pose a threat to you. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. We can hope not. But it's just good practice to get rid of all your information on a device when you're selling things so that you're not vulnerable in any way. Okay, security on social media. It is important when considering safety online to think about what personal information you might have shared publicly in the past or recently. Think about what personal information is stored within your account and what data you may have shared that could compromise you. Unfortunately, social media is such a massive platform where we're encouraged to share all of our life and all the good bits, all the highlights, but sometimes there's a case of oversharing. There's lots of stuff that's on social media that doesn't necessarily need to be on social media, like you can tell your friends in real life, and it's important to maybe do a little self-assessment or a little assessment for your group. Maybe you shared locations that you didn't want to share, that sort of thing, and think what could potentially be used against you. It's just the same as if you're applying for a job, you clean up your Facebook and you turn it on private, just in case that your potential employer might have a Google of you and see things that maybe they didn't want to. It's the same if maybe a hacker or a scammer were to go on your page. Are you vulnerable because of the information that you put on there? For example, have you liked a particular bank page on social media? This could be an indicator of who you personally bank with. Or have you put lots of pictures of your house up that people could look and analyze your house and where it is and that sort of thing? I'm not saying they will. It's not something to be too worried about, but just think in terms of protecting yourself. It's the first place to start, to not overshare all your personal information. So keep your social media pages private. This is something I highly recommend. Make sure you have strong privacy settings. You choose friends only or only me when choosing your security settings. So that's for something like Facebook. You can go into your profile settings and choose friends only, which means you're just like putting a barrier up to people that haven't sent you a friend request. It's only your friends that can see it, which honestly is who we'd only want seeing it anyway. I don't think it's necessary to have your page on public, because if someone wants to see it, then you accept their friend request and it's consensual. Maybe the wrong word, but you know that each other is seeing it. So you can edit this by going on your profile, like I said, and most apps have privacy settings. So I know that all three, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram that are shown here, all have privacy settings, meaning that you can have a private account where people can't see your Facebook posts or they can't see your tweets or your Instagram posts. unless they follow you. So having a private account is a great way to stop the general social media users being able to see your information. They can see your name and they can see your profile picture, but people are going to need to see that if they're going to know who you are and add you as a friend. So, but you shouldn't be too compromised by a profile picture and a name. So be careful when checking in and letting the world know your location. This can allow a criminal to work out patterns or behaviors that you have yourself, which could compromise your home and online security. My advice is that it's completely fine to geotag your location. So say where you are in a post. I went on holiday to Lanzarote or something like that. You can put the geotag. I would just save it for when you're home. Because if you're posting that maybe you're away, 2-week holiday with your family, people know that your house is vacant and it leaves your house vulnerable. So it's more than fine to post all your holiday pictures. I'm sure it was a really, really great time and you want to share that with lots of people, but do it once you've come back. I'm sure we all know that it's one of those, it's just being aware of what you're doing online. And I would say that is the whole sentiment of online safety, is just being cautious and just being aware of what you're doing and how you're protecting yourself. So there is the option as well to approve who follows you and who can tag you, which puts you in control of what happens on your account if someone is trying to contact you via social media. If someone's trying to contact you, you don't want them to see your account, but you always have the option to block them. So never forget that if maybe there is some sort of harassment, or maybe it's just someone that follows you that you actually don't want to see your information anymore, you have the option to block them, which means you can still see their profile, but they can't see yours, which is a really great tool to remember. You can do this across all social media platforms. You can block them as a person and it's going to protect your privacy and hide your information. By doing this, it ensures they can no longer see your social media page. So I think it's just important to know that you have options, and also maybe in your organization Facebook group, someone's been spamming, or you're suspecting them of not being legitimate, that type of thing. You can block them on there as well, so that they can no longer see the content and they can't post and interact with the post. So know that there's features in Facebook to allow you to remain private. So email. I know we covered email in the phishing texts and emails, but this is email specific. As we all know, electronic mail is incredibly useful, but there's a few potential dangers to look out for, and it's most important to always keep your data safe. I would say emails is one of the places that scams are most prevalent, because people can just access emails on a database, that type of thing, and it's really easy to send out loads and loads of emails all at once. The sentiment, again, as I've said, is don't open links or attachments from email addresses you don't know or recognize, as they might be unsafe or fraudulent. So any button that says click here is an absolute no if you don't know the person or the company personally, or even sometimes they're impersonating. So if you're unsure, give your friend a ring, maybe if it's their email address that might have been hacked, or give the company a ring directly. If you are unsure whether the link may be fraudulent, type the website into a search engine to make sure you're accessing the website securely. Don't forward or respond to emails that you suspect of being unsafe or fraudulent. So don't interact with them at all. There's no need to ask, who is this? Why are you doing this? It only makes you more vulnerable, as they know now to channel their efforts towards you as they've gained a response. So emails may even come from an address that you recognize, such as a friend or family member. This can happen when someone's account is compromised. If you receive something and it seems suspicious or out of character, give that person a ring or text them, that sort of thing, but don't interact with their email until you know that it's from them. Sometimes it can be a little overcautious, but I think it's much better to be overcautious than just replying anyway, because it might be them. So what to do if your financial details are compromised? Contact your bank or credit card directly and they will be able to help you. If possible, call from your mobile banking app or call the number on the back of your card. Banks they're not, I don't want to say used to this, but it's not unheard of. They have full procedures, full measures to put in place to help you through this sort of difficult process. Big like tip, call them sooner rather than later. Do not send any money that you're unsure of. Call them to verify whether you need to send money or update your financial details, that kind of thing. You could even call them to ask a question like, this subscription is telling me to update the details. I'm sure they would have a look at it because I'm sure they don't want to reimburse you for money that could potentially have just gone into a scam. So your banks have measures in place and they will try and help you as best can. Try not to call them after it's happened. Try and validate what financial details are being asked of you, and they can help you sort that out, especially if it's a banking scam. So it's a scam where they're saying, we are your bank, you need to do this, this, and this, send this money here. Call your bank because they will investigate this, as they do not want this scam working on other people. Okay, protecting people in a group online space. Private groups are places for people to come together and to share or communicate on a range of personal topics or professional topics. They're useful for organizations and groups, as we've seen in our other webinars, our how-to webinars. They're great for creating community and opening conversation and allowing people to communicate, not just with group organizers, but with everybody else in the community as well. And for example, they're great for peer support, which is one of the biggest pluses I think that I've seen to organizations having a social group space. Ways to protect people within them. It's not more difficult, but I think it helps to have a clear set of rules that people follow in the group. So if you maybe are having like a conversation kind of page, it's like discussion based, you just have some be kind rules, no swearing, no this and that, so that when people are getting a bit inappropriate or just a bit unorderly, you can say, look, we have these rules. I'm now going to have to remove you from the group or block you from the group. And it's just going to keep it a nicer, more civil environment, because sometimes people online, the I was going to say technical term, the informal term, keyboard warriors. So maybe people who are happy to type really horrible messages behind a keyboard. They're not going to say it to your face, those kinds of people. If you've got the rules, you've got clear means to cut them out the group, because they knew what they were signing up for. I think it's also a good idea to nominate a group moderator, especially if you're having interactions, to make sure that the group content is appropriate and authentic, because you're also looking for people that are not real. It doesn't make sense, but people that are catfishing, which means posing as someone that they're not, because doing this is wrong in any means, but catfishing normally means that they have some sort of ulterior motive, and if no one knows them, then maybe what is the reason to be in the group type of thing. So WhatsApp groups are generally more secure, as each profile has to be tied to a phone number. So if this is a big thing that you're worried about, maybe a WhatsApp group is the way to distribute information within your organization. You can make sure that the administrator of the group has the correct contact information for individuals being added. So that's just a double check, making sure that everyone in there is legitimate. It's also a more accessible platform. So for people that don't want their information online or their information on social media, WhatsApp group chats is a great option. And the same with social media, you can block phone numbers if maybe they're spamming or you don't know where they're coming from or how they're joining your groups. Just block the number and delete them. So in Facebook, I'm sure that we've covered this in our many webinars before, but you can set up private groups for your organization, which means that people who aren't in the group can see the group's title if they come across it, and maybe picture, and they might be able to see maybe if some of their friends are in that group, but they can't see the content until the person who has set up the group accepts them. So they would need to request to be in the group and they would need to be accepted, which is really great for keeping the right people in your organization and keeping your information private and confidential. I'd put a little disclaimer. Facebook is not super secure. You should not be putting confidential information into these groups as they can be compromised, but stuff that maybe you want to keep private, and that sort of thing, like you want to have people join the group and not have it viewed by all the public, that's what this is perfect for. But do not put banking information, that type of stuff on Facebook, even in a private group, because it's just not safe enough. But it is good for groups that aren't wanting everyone to see all their topics and all their discussions and everything that they're doing. Another safety benefit is that users will have to request to be added or invited by a friend, which is another good way to do it, because then you know that they're legitimate as their friend has invited them. The administrator for the group will need to authorize these requests, providing an opportunity to view the person that has requested to join the group's personal profile. So you could click on them and see what they're about and make sure that they look like they're a real person with real Facebook friends, that sort of thing. If somebody who's just created a fake Facebook profile, a good way to tell is minimal pictures, not very many friends, maybe no mutual friends. That's another way, because if there's mutual friends, your friends are friends with them, type of thing. And you can see that on people's profiles, which is another good way to sort of see how well other people know them and how much that you can maybe trust them. Of course, people slip through the net. Some people accept everybody's friend request on Facebook. I wouldn't recommend it personally. I think if you build this online community to share with friends and people that you know, then you should keep it to that, because there's no need for random people to be seeing your information. But it's just a way to tell if a profile is legitimate, is pictures, stuff on their timeline, that kind of stuff. So again, there's the option to report a person or a post on Facebook. So maybe if someone is spreading hateful content or something that looks like a scam, actually, you can report that post and Facebook will investigate this. It does actually depend, unfortunately, on how many people have reported it, that sort of thing. But you can report catfish people, fake people, or you can report posts that might be hateful or scams, that type of thing. This will trigger an investigation and the profile or post should be reviewed promptly. Big emphasis on should, so try to steer clear of people that you think aren't authentic online. So I hope that covered lots of the topics. I think we'll just revise the top tips that we're going through, because it is a lot of different things, but like I said in the middle of the webinar, I think it's about being aware of what you're putting online and just being cautious. If you just approach it cautiously, you're much less likely to absent-mindedly click the wrong thing or reply to the wrong person, that sort of thing. And there's always places to double check. Okay, top tips revisited. Create complex passwords. Creating strong, unique passwords for your accounts is an effective way of keeping your personal and financial information safe. Never share your passwords. I would suggest writing passwords down maybe in a notebook, keeping it offline. You can create secure notepads with locks and stuff on, but again, if it's saved on your laptop and people get into your laptop and they manage to get into that, they have a list of your passwords. So I personally write mine down, keep it tucked away, that type of thing, because passwords are not easy to remember, I know that. Number 2, boost your security. Once your logins are safe, make sure that your connections are secure. When you're at home or work, you use a password protected router that encrypts your data. So that's all very wordy. Basically, it's back to the Wi-Fi point about Wi-Fi that you maybe use in a cafe or in Starbucks is not protected because it's not password based. So somebody who could get onto that Wi-Fi could view everybody else on that Wi-Fi. Like, they can't just click, but you're more vulnerable to being hacked. Whereas if you're on a password protected Wi-Fi, there's an instant barrier there that is just much stronger and is just going to stop someone trying to tap into your Wi-Fi. Again, I think this is uncommon, but it's something to be cautious of. That's why I said banking and emails, because they would be where your sensitive data is. Click smart. Make sure that you don't invite danger with careless clicking. Many of today's online threats are based in the email and text phishing or social engineering, which is basically trickery to divulge your personal or sensitive information for fraudulent purposes. And like I mentioned with the corona vaccine, they are quite mean and manipulative in terms of what they're picking. They're picking on people's worries or vulnerabilities, that sort of thing. So don't try not to fall victim to scams, but honestly, it is hard sometimes to distinguish the information. So be cautious, contact the direct person. Say if you've received the corona vaccine text, call your GP and ask them, is that normal practice? Where should I go? Who should I talk to? That sort of thing. Just double check. There's no harm in double checking. And yeah, they're trying to get you to divulge personal or sensitive information or just infect your device with malware. So be selective with what you share. These days, lots of opportunities to share our personal information on lots and lots of platforms. We've got all the options. We can share pictures, words, thoughts, etc., etc. Be cautious and aware of what you're sharing, particularly when it comes to your personal identity. This can be used to impersonate you online. That's something I forgot to touch on earlier. Or guess your passwords and logins. So another way that maybe a scam or phishing sort of thing could work is that if somebody set up a Facebook profile with your name and your pictures and started adding your friends and asking them to click this link and that sort of thing, that could be really dangerous because they've used all of your information online. And of course, you can report the account. If you see something like this happen, you can ask everyone else to report the account as well because it's not you. But unfortunately, it does happen because they're trying to gain that trust from the people that they're trying to scam by impersonating maybe someone you know or even yourself. Protect your mobile. Our mobile devices can be just as vulnerable to online threats as our laptops. In fact, mobile devices face new risks such as fake apps and malicious links sent via text. Be careful where you click. Don't respond to messages from strangers, WhatsApp, Facebook, any of those. If it's from someone you don't know, you don't need to respond because you don't know them. And be careful with downloading apps. Only download apps from the official app store. So your phone, if it's an Android, will have an Android app store or a Google app store or the Apple app store, where you can search up the apps and download them legitimately. There's no need to be clicking random links on the internet and that sort of thing. Practice safe internet use. When shopping online or visiting websites for online banking or sensitive transactions, always make sure that the site's address has a padlock icon in the URL field. This indicates that the website is secure and uses encryption to scramble your data so it can't be intercepted by others. So I'll see if you can see here, just up here, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but you can see it has a padlock. This means that it's a secure website where the data is encrypted, meaning that it's less easy to access the data and get into what you're viewing and what's on your laptop type of thing. So that's something really useful that honestly not many people know about, that is good to be aware of so that you can practice safe internet use and make sure the websites you're on are legitimate. Also, you don't want to be buying stuff or putting your details into anywhere that doesn't have that padlock, because it's just a sign of a website that is not secure. Number 7, and our last point, is keep up to date. Keep your software updated with all the latest security patches and turn on automatic updates so you don't have to remember to do a manual update. This is just about keeping your antivirus software up to date, but also keeping maybe your phone updated or your laptop updated so it can protect itself as best as possible as maybe new scams or email phishing and such develop, because obviously software developers and designers keep updating our phones in order to make sure that we are best protected to protect our devices against this sort of thing. So that is all we have time for, and I'm actually very impressed I've managed to do that within the 45 minutes that I said. So thank you very much for attending. I'm going to have some time for questions and answers if anybody has any.